And so I think this, this story kind of starts in Taiwan. So about 4 years ago, I had the opportunity to meet Vitalik Buterin, the creator of Ethereum. This was a few months after Ethereum had gone live, and I was there as well as all these other people because we kind of believed in something. We kind of believed that this tool, this Ethereum platform that Vitalik had created would actually give rise to a new type of society, would for the first time give us a vision of what type of world we could build that goes above and beyond what we can build with the systems that we have today, which are traditional governments, traditional finance. With Ethereum, we could build a world that truly would be compatible with the far future we're advancing towards, right? And it is this transcendence, this technological transcendence that Ethereum has enabled, that Monolith, that my company is trying to make real, right? So, over the last, so in the years since then, we've seen the growth and development of a new type of decentralized economy, the decentralized finance economy. And what Monolith is trying to do is we're trying to take this and turn this into a consumer-grade bank account. We're trying to take this system that is like foundationally different than the old world finance or even fintech, how either of those operate today. And we're trying to take this and put it in your pocket, that you can actually choose to live a life that has nothing to do with the traditional, corrupt, old financial world anymore, and instead runs on automated code that is entirely transparent, that is more efficient, and that puts you in control. And so that's exactly what we've built. We've built world's first consumer banking experience for Ethereum, where what we've tried to do specifically is, well, above all, we've tried to maintain the fact that it's non-custodial. So in contrast with HSBC, in contrast with Zagreb Banka, or in contrast with Revolut or Coinbase, we don't take deposit of your money. You retain full control of your money, right? And around this, we've basically built a service experience where you can drop this into your life, right? Today, most people use, probably have Revolut or have some other like banking app, and you can drop this Ethereum-powered version in your life without changing your life. And that's really important because about 5 years ago, I left university, I dropped out of university to live a life on Bitcoin. I canceled all of my bank accounts. I was one of the first people to travel the world with just a Bitcoin wallet. And that's because I truly believe this was the start of a new type of societal paradigm. But the problem obviously was that no one accepted Bitcoin, that it was basically impossible to live a normal life. And so what I've dedicated all my time to, what my team is building, is we're building an experience where you can actually live in this new next gen of finance without being able to, without losing the functionality of the things you do today, right? Without not being able to pay for your bills anymore, right? And so this is a profile of what it looks like. It really is supposed to like drop into your life today. So that means we have a Visa debit card. That means we have a banking app that you can install on your phone. You don't have to live in a cave to use Ethereum. This is just compatible with your normal life. We want, your own family, right, to be able to sign up for Monolith rather than signing up for a traditional fintech. The experience should be just as easy, which today it actually isn't. So, what we've built to get there, again, is a grant-not-proof wallet. So, and this is quite literal. So, where this industry is going is that in the future, you won't just hold a bit of Bitcoin in your wallet. You won't just hold a bit of, Ether or some token. You'll hold almost everything you own. And this will be stuff like your Netflix subscriptions, right? Any subscription, maybe your insurances, maybe your own identity. Maybe your own house will be in the form of a token in your own wallet. And if that's the future, then we can't have live in a world where if you make one mistake, you lose all your money, which is the case with key-based wallets today. And so our wallet is a smart contract wallet, which means that each of our users, when they sign up, they deploy onto the Ethereum network a piece of code that they control. And this code has security features, has settings that you can customize, such as a daily limit, that will control how much funds go out. And so, yeah. The other part of this, obviously, is that you should be able to live your day-to-day life. So we have our Visa debit card, a Monolith Visa debit card, which is an experience where you can go from having custodial control of your funds yourself, right? You never give it to us as a company in the default view. Instead, you're literally sending an Ethereum transaction from your wallet, from your own control, to the card, to top up the card. You're going from custodial control to having it be usable in the real world in about 15 seconds, depending on Ethereum congestion times. And yeah, this is like the MVP. This is like the minimum viable product that we've built today to allow a person who's really into this stuff to live a life on Ethereum. A bunch of the stuff we've had to do to get here. We've been through the FCA sandbox, the Financial Conduct Authority in the UK. And although they definitely think we're quite crazy, they definitely think I'm quite crazy, they were actually really impressed with what we do. Because in contrast with any other fintech, in contrast with a traditional bank, or even in contrast with most companies in the crypto industry, if we disappear, all of our users still have access to their funds, right? And that's kind of scary to them as well, because that means that we as a company can't even seize your money. But, that's life. We think, another thing we've had to build is, for example, we've built an AML system. So this is part of our agreement with Visa and with the FCA, that we check the source of the funds. Even though we can't take your money, we can, however, due to the nature of the blockchain, we can check its provenance. We can see where it came from. And so, if we don't like where it's come from, because it's come from a hacked exchange, or a Ponzi scheme, or a scam, then we can basically deny you, like the card service, for example, is one thing. Yeah. Then the question is, like, where are we really trying to get to? So we think that with a few small additions to our platform, we can actually get to a place where normal people can actually start to choose to live in this new economic paradigm, right? To quite literally abandon the old world. And a few things we have to do to get there. We want to build money in. We're building money in. We're adding DeFi integrations, which means that we're like the best dApps being built in Ethereum, the best DeFi. We're adding that natively into the wallet. And we're trying to make the experience, the UX experience, passive rather than active. It's active right now in the sense that I, as a user, have to actively manage what I'm doing. I have to like put my DAI in some sort of collateralized debt position, or put it in compound or something like that. We want to actually remove that type of thing from the experience and just make it that the moment you're sending in your salary in the future, right? You're sending it, your employer is sending your salary to you in the form of euros. That the moment it hits your, the system, we're actually giving you Euro tokens, right? Or in fact, why not go a step beyond? Why not give you compounding interest Euro tokens, right? And so we think we're 6 months away from being the first company to be able to offer a trustless bank, a complete trustless banking experience. Today we have the MVP. We're getting close to being able to offer it for virtually anyone who doesn't already have crypto. And so most of this already exists. You can download our app on the iOS and Android App Store. In fact, we have about 1,000 users in Europe today. And I kind of like this picture, which was from earlier this week, where someone said it looked like an album drop, which I think is kind of funny because it does. But yeah, this was Rune, the founder of MakerDAO. who was talking about us at DevCon 2 months ago. But this number, 1,000 cards issued, this is great to me because, you know, these are people who are literally pioneers, right? These are the first people in the world who've chosen to live a life in this new economic paradigm. But that's still a really damn low number, right? And so this kind of like has got us thinking, like, you know, hey, maybe, you know, our platform being built on Ethereum, our platform being futuristic, our platform being non-custodial isn't enough, right? That's interesting to me, and probably to a lot of you, right? We're technologists, but to normal people don't care about this stuff. And so we've had to consciously take a step back, and we kind of came to the realization that we're living through the most beautiful time in our industry, like, to date. So since the creation of Bitcoin 10 years ago and Ethereum 5 years ago, most of the, you know, interest from the public in our industry has been in 2013, 2017, because people think, you know, that, hey, maybe if I buy this token or if I buy this Bitcoin or whatever, you know, the price is going to go up 10 times, 100 times maybe even. You know, maybe I'll make a lot of money and I'll get rich. And this is pure speculation, right? For the longest time, our industry has not been interesting to normal people beyond just for gambling reasons. But this just changed. So in the last half year, we've seen the emergence on Ethereum, on this, you know, this expanding network of dApps that are all interacting with each other, of compounding interest lending platforms, right? So a lot of them are building on something else still, right? It's all one big layer cake of Ethereum. It's amazing. They're building on DAI, which is obviously the dollar peg token. And through these lending platforms, which are just pieces of code that run on Ethereum, you can get interest rates that go above and beyond what even the best fintechs, much less so a traditional bank can offer you, right? And so this got us thinking that maybe if we offer, you know, this is something that for the first time, normal people will actually be able to look at our industry, right? And be like, I don't really care about the technology, but getting interest on my stable currency, on my fiat, right? On my euros, or on my pounds, or on my dollars. Now that's interesting to me. That's not a very active experience, like trading, right? Where people burn out after 2 months of like being awake all night because the price is going up or down. But this is a passive experience where you simply have your salary paid in, and the moment it hits the system, you're getting 6, 7, 8% interest. And that's exactly what we're going to deliver to market. So we think we're about 6 months away from basically doing the European DeFi land grab. We think that we can deliver a system that is on par, that is as easy to use as the best fintechs are today, but because we are building on an economy that is foundationally different, we will be able, foundationally more efficient as well, we will be able to offer people financial gains that go above and beyond the wildest dreams of fintech, beyond the wildest dreams of traditional banking. And like, this is probably like going to mean that this is close to the end of fintech as we know it. All of this has grown so incredibly quickly in the last half year. A year ago, I've been working on this stuff for a long time. A year ago, I would not have believed that we would be at the state of DeFi that it is today. And that's why our experience to date has been optimized not for the general public, not for 700 million Europeans, but it's been optimized for technologists, right? Our experience today is one for people like myself who have, who understand Ethereum, who have digital assets. But we realize now that right in front of us is this opportunity to take Ethereum to the real world, because it's actually delivering benefits that the traditional finance world, including traditional fintech, can't deliver. And yeah, that's my pitch. So normally I would do a demo, but I think I'm all out of time. So you're happy to speak to me afterwards and I'll show. I want to thank my amazing team. These guys live and breathe the revolution. Without them, none of this would exist. And yeah, I want to thank you all. I want to thank Ivan and Nicola for inviting me here on stage. Thank you.